Hey guys, Dave and Len again. This is Wargame Chat number 6. In this episode, we're going to talk about games we think are suitable for new wargamers and also how to get wargamers into the hobby. So why don't you start with your first one you recommend?
Okay. I was thinking, I didn't look at the subject of which games to play because the idea is what are the new person's interests? And then you work on it from there. Because my example was the first game I got was Luftwaffe, which at the time was the most complex war game. But the cover was neat. We thought they were getting a Milton Bradley's dogfight in World War II. Plus, I saw 12 O'Clock Hide a week before, so I was really psyched up for a maximum effort. So the fact I was interested in the subject, we plugged away and finally figured out how to play the game. So one thing is, even if you have a simple game and the person's not interested in the subject, it won't be helping. You gotta find out what the person's interest is.
Yeah, good point. So my first game that I would recommend for beginners is Across Suez. I believe it might have originally been in Strategy and Tactics magazine. I have the boxed version from Decision Games. The reason I recommend it is it's simple rules, it plays fast, and it's very fun. And one thing good about it is there's no stacking, because one of the things new wargamers hate is stacks falling over and stuff. You have to play war games for a while before you're willing to tolerate that. So yeah, it's only a single scenario, but it's a great scenario and it's a lot of fun. And everyone I've played that with has liked the game. So,
okay, one thing is a lot of people like ships. So if you have a naval game, you might be able to get more people. Because a good example I had was Wooden Ships and Iron Men. You had a lot of one-to-one duels, and so, one ship versus one ship, and they have enough stuff to work with. It's be enough of a challenge without being overwhelming. And you could do scenarios like you give them the Constitution, you got the Java or the Guerriere or whatever the other one is. Normally they were at a disadvantage, but you got a new person. So sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. So you have a better chance.
My next one is Turning Point from Worthington Publishing. Not many people have played this game. It's from Richard Berg.
Yeah.
It's a card-driven game about the Revolutionary War. There's 2 different Revolutionary War battles. And why I think it's good for beginners is because if you have someone who plays like Euros or Ameritrash games or whatever, since this is card-driven, I think it will interest them more than a standard hex and shit game. And plus, there's no hexes on it. The board has squares and stuff, and the 2 scenarios are pretty interesting. It's easy to play, and the rules are easy enough where a new player can learn it, so that's why I recommend that one.
Okay. One thing I think was favorable is that one convention, I got some high schoolish type, I forget what we're doing. They were talking about the American Revolution. What were the battles like? And I recommended that Decision Games have 3 games about the American Revolution battles. There's Volume 1, Volume 2, and Volume 3. And they are simple enough that you could easily play it, but on the other hand, they're not overwhelming in detail. But you get the right feel of what the battle was like. So.
All right, my next one, did they ever get the game, or?
I don't know.
Oh, okay. Next one, this one's easy to find at the store, actually, Memoir 44. It's a World War II game that uses plastic miniatures and stuff, or I'd call them more like plastic game pieces. So one thing new guys don't like about war games is the cardboard counters. That's one thing you constantly hear from someone the first time they play a war game is why are the components are so crappy? Why is it just square counters that you're using as playing pieces? So this has nice plastic playing pieces. It's super easy to play. It's got a hex board which is mounted. That's another complaint a lot of new wargamers have about war games is a lot of the war games have paper maps, and it takes a while to get used to that if you're into wargaming. But yeah, Memoir 44, everyone likes the game who plays it, so definitely get it if you're trying to get someone into wargaming.
Okay. Well, one thing is you got to be very encouraging because wargaming is not learned in one day.
Yeah, that's true.
And nowadays, we're used to doing things instantly, and it's even if you focus on one period, one era, you'll spend a lot of time learning something new.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like the one thing if you're teaching a new person, don't be afraid to lose. Give not deliberately throw it, but give them like an advantage.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, one thing I did once is that we used to use Sniper as an example. That's the SBI game to introduce new people because it was man to man. And what I would do is he'd have a full squad and I'd have about 4 or 5 soldiers. So it was like I gave myself extra victory points because I had smaller ones. So it was easier for him to 1-to-1. You learned how to play it, but at the same time he had a better chance of winning, and he was going up against a skilled person. So, but it's like you got to not be afraid to lose, but you can't give him an easy victory.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. You're definitely going to turn off a new wargamer if you bring out some super complicated game that takes like 5 to 6 tries before you get good at it, and you just wail on him in the first game. He's going to be like, well, I suck at wargames. I don't want to play these.
Well, one thing I'm thinking also you should get games that are quick to set up.
True.
That's why I always like Sniper, because you just put up, pick out a dozen counters for each side, and off you go.
Yeah.
And of course, depending on scenario, you'll be done in about an hour. So.
Very true. All right, my next game that I recommend is Leading Edge Games Aliens, based on, about Aliens, the movie. Everyone likes that movie. Well, I wouldn't say everyone. Most people like that movie, and it's a really fun game with... it's got multiple scenarios in it, and they're all completely different from each other, so you don't get bored. There's a lot of replayability and stuff, and you can teach anyone how to play this game. You just give them like 2 minutes of instruction and play against them, and they'll have no trouble playing whatsoever. It's that easy, and it's fun, and it's about a movie that we all like.
Okay. Oh, there's another, not so much introducing new wargamers, but getting people who are into wargaming but a new period. Because sometimes they'll spark interest. At one wargame store, I used to play with guys. We did 7 Years War battles. And this group, they used to do the big mech warriors, the big tall things that...
Oh, Battletech, yeah.
Battletech, yeah. After one of their games, they're coming on asking questions about it, and they're beginning to show interest, and it looked totally different from what they're used to. And we explained to them how it is, and and I don't know. I think some of them tried it a few times, but I think they went back to Battletech because they're more used to it.
That's cool. I used to play mostly just Ancients, and I remember I had played some World War II games, but it was never like one of my preferred wars to play. But however, once I started playing Flames of War, I really got into World War II. So after that, I liked World War II a lot more than I did before. So it caused me to play a bunch of other World War II games. Also, I had played some before that, but like I said, I was more into the Ancients at the time. But I'd say now I like Ancients the best. World War II and science fiction the next best. And so forth. There's some other wars I like too, like any of the Israeli wars I like. World War I, it depends on the game. Some World War I games I like, some I don't.
Well, the problem is a lot of World War I games are very realistic, and the war was horrible.
Yeah, it was horrible.
You can imagine, it's, if you do a strategic level in the 1914 campaign, there are a lot of casualties, and you just seem to be losing people and maybe gaining about a couple miles. That's no fun. No, there's no blitzkriegs. No. So.
And my last one, this one's related. Memoir 44 is Battle Cry. It's essentially Civil War game. It plays just like Memoir 44, actually. So if you like Memoir 44, you'll definitely like that. I actually prefer Battle Cry out of the two. It just seems a little bit more interesting. Very nice game. And it's got plastic components and stuff too, so you won't have to listen to the new guy complaining about the cardboard counters.
Yeah, I was always wondering, is it easier to get into miniatures and board games? Because
I'd say it's easier to get into board games because miniatures you got to paint and stuff, and a lot of people. I mean, I had people who taught me how to paint, so I was lucky in that aspect. Some people have no one who can teach them how to paint, so their first try at painting, the figures turn out horrible and they lose hearts.
boy, that's when I went to my first Wargame club meeting. I brought in like a shoebox full of soldiers because they recommended that you bring a few, do some painting and so we're doing Napoleonic. So I got a battalion here. It's the 3rd Regiment, and as I'm talking, some guy with a handcart is pushing back a whole bunch of carts, and he goes, "Okay, this is the left wing. Let me get out the rest of them." And what I learned at times is that with miniatures, sometimes they need players more than painters.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So
I've had a lot of miniature games where I painted up the miniatures, and I never really was able to play the game other than solo. I never found anyone else who wanted to play it, so I stopped collecting the miniatures for that game and stuff. Whereas it seems like with board games, I'm more likely to find a player.
yeah, because I think the only miniatures I paint are airplanes, ships, and some figures for my steampunk campaign. So. Which I don't know if they'll ever restart, but okay. So, well, one thing if I want to sum up, is be patient with the new person.
Yeah, that's true.
This is not time to be competitive.
Mm-hmm. It's the same with doing game demos. The worst thing you can do, like if you're demoing a game because you want people to buy it, is to beat the guy. So when you're doing a demo, you always set it up where it's very likely that the person you're trying to sell the game to is going to win, because if they win the game, they're probably going to like it. If they get their ass kicked, they're not going to like it. Mm-hmm. But anyhow, that's all we got for this time. See you guys next week. We'll have something new then.